Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. This is the Imperfect Ashlers Masonic Podcast. All the views and opinions stated on this show are strictly those of the host and their guests and do not reflect the opinions of any Masonic Lodge or Grand Lodge. What's up, y'all? We are the Imperfect Ashlers, back for, I believe it's episode number 8 now. I am Brother Zach. Beside me, as always, I've got Brother Ben. Well, actually, across the room this time, I've got Brother Ben, because today we have Hunter Brassfield. He is an EA from James D. Trust Lodge in Raglan, and we're going to interview him, see how it goes. But first, Ben, you had anything going on lately? I know it's been a short time since we did our last show.
Yeah, we haven't waited as long in between episodes this time. So life has been going on more than anything, I guess you would say, but just running the business, going to lodge, doing all the things that we normally do, and it's just, trying to find time for all the other small stuff.
Yeah, I get that. All right, well, Hunter, tell us a little bit about yourself, just kind of your background and everything, and we'll go ahead and just do the first question. What got you interested in Masonry?
Background with me, man, I don't know where to start. Did 7 years in the fire department. That's how me and you actually ended up meeting.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I was thinking about on the way over here. It's kind of crazy, over here speaking about masonry and everything. Started having kids, obviously. We drifted apart there for a little while, and how that brought it back together. It's kind of crazy to sit back and think about,
Yeah, I mean, we've known each other for, probably 15 years or so, I guess.
Yeah.
And who would have thought it was the lodge that brought us back together?
Right.
I mean, but
Full circle.
Yeah, exactly.
Quickly.
So what actually got you interested in Masonry?
I mean, I don't know any one particular thing. Just, I've always it's always piqued my interest a little bit, and never really did think too much into it until I got to talking to my wife's granddad, who's, God, he's been a Mason since 79, somewhere around that ballpark.
Yeah.
Been a part of the Raglan Lodge, I think, the entire time. I was kind of poking around with him, talking to him, and some folks I knew. And he said, well, you interested, come talk to us. And we went and talked with him and 2 or 3 other members. And I finally petitioned for it. And I think it was January 15th. Because it's supposed to have been sometime in December, but for the weather, the wedding that me and Peyton recently had, it kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back to the point of, man, are we really ever going to do it?
Yeah, I remember I saw you at the parade, and it was the...
Initially, it's supposed to be January 8th when I told you that.
Yeah.
And then he texted me whenever they realized Alabama was going to the playoffs. I was like, what are they making to the championships? We don't want to miss that game.
Yeah.
So you were initiated in an apprentice on January the 15th?
Yeah.
Somewhere.
I think it was the 15th. I'm pretty sure it was, because, like I said, it's supposed to be the 8th, and we waited a week later.
That sounds about right.
Ball game purposes.
What exactly is Raglan's lodge number?
I think it's 515.
515.
Yeah. I know it's James D. Trust. I remember
James D. Trust 515.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they've got I don't know if you've been there or not. They've got some knowledgeable guys up there.
Oh, yeah.
Some very good guys.
He just informed me earlier that I think I'm 8 miles from the lodge, maybe 10 miles
You're
from there, and
probably about halfway.
Looks like that'll be a lodge that I'll be visiting.
Yeah, and they meet. What is it? Mondays?
Monday nights.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. Let's back up on that. I have an obligation on Monday nights. No. On the first and third Monday night, I'm free. So it's just second and fourth Monday nights.
Well, there you go. Yeah. There's another one you can go to.
There's another thing to add to the list.
Glad to have you, man.
Shoot, yeah. Well, and he's going to be getting his second degree before too long, too. He, I believe he's just about done.
I just got a few more things to sure up. I'm hoping within about the next 2 weeks, maybe a little less. I'm hoping. We shall see.
Heck yeah, I'll be there for that one.
So you kind of touched on this. What exactly? And I think you said your father-in-law. What? That
was my granddad.
Your granddad.
My granddad.
Okay. Things that drew you to Masonry. I mean, was it strictly family members or anything you saw on TV or anything?
I've come to find out over time that there's a lot more people that was around me growing up that I never knew it. And, there's the mystique around it. And everybody's like, oh, is it good? Is it bad? Nobody knows until you get into it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my
Yeah.
thing was looking back at it was like my wife's granddad. I think my dad had an uncle that was in it a long time ago, and a bunch of other folks I know. I was like, these guys are in it. So I don't think it's the bad that people presume it to be.
Yeah. That's what I always tell people, when we get folks coming in, you know, don't knock it until you get
Right.
into it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You turn around and go, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Um, so what, let me go back to my notes real quick. What kind of along that same line, what did you expect? Like, had you done any research? Did you know anything about what masonry is or
Well, see,
anything?
that was the thing is like getting in or getting ready to get towards it, because I petitioned in November. And once the process finally played out with the weather snaps and everything we had, and obviously Alabama football, as I touched on earlier.
Okay.
You can tell
There
he's
you
an
go.
Alabama fan.
Right? Well, two of us in here got a good brain on us.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to do some research onto it, but in today's world, especially, you don't know what you're looking at, if it's fact, if it's crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go to doing research on masonry, you are opening up a can of worms.
And that's the thing. It's like
you
with
don't know
any,
what's true. What's
it's with
false, or
anything you
some
research,
misinformation.
whatever your mind draws, what you expect it to be. Whenever you see an article, it may be absolute false information about anything. If that's what your mind expected it to be, that's what you're going to go with. Well, that's what it is. I don't want no part of that.
All right.
So I just assume stay away from it. And I was also told by a couple of the guys around our lodge, like, hey, don't look into it online because
Right.
a lot of 99% of it's false information.
And I'm sure Ben can tell you this too. My mic sounds a lot better right now. For some reason, I've done something. I don't know.
So my conversation, we've got a little place over here on the lake that we go to on the weekend sometimes, and the neighbor down below me, we were talking, and this was just Saturday, and he was like, we were talking about he threw it out there, something about me being a Mason and everything. And he was like, I know all about you guys. I know all about you guys and your light.
Yeah.
And then he kind of tried to tie us back into Lucifer and everything. I'm like, but you need to dig a little
You
deeper.
ain't got a clue.
You have no clue.
And that's
what you run into a lot of times.
Oh, yeah.
with people.
Yeah.
This
And that's what I was going to
devil
say.
worship and whatever else
Oh,
is what you hear.
I've lost on TikTok and YouTube
Man.
and all that, and you can find all this stuff, and there's so much of it. Once you get to be a master mason, you'll see.
TikTok in and of itself with certain things, because for one, I mean, the phones listen, they got to.
Oh yeah.
So I'm sure
I'm all about.
they've heard the conversations, whenever we spoke on masonry, stuff like that, because it started popping up on my TikTok.
Yeah.
And there's one guy on there that I don't know his name, and I don't want to give him the credit, so we're not even going to worry about it.
Yeah.
But what I know so far, and just what I've been through in the last, 3-4 months, the things he speaks on about what I know is absolute crap.
Yeah. And that's, like we do, you took your obligation on a Bible,
I agree.
that's what, excuse me, last episode we did on conspiracy theories and stuff like that. And that's why we're doing this, is to dispel a lot of that. And
I mean, people are still going to draw their own conclusion, regardless. He was coached to do it or something like that.
That's going to be anywhere. And
anytime you have secrets like that,
absolutely,
it scares people.
Yeah.
And that's what
the unknown.
And when you get to the baseline of everything, we're just a fraternity of men coming together, trying to make men better men, brothers that unite weekly, monthly, whatever, and we come together. And I would like to say we all have the same ideals and everything, but I meet Masons all the time that don't necessarily think the way I do, but that still goes back to they're my brother.
Right. Yeah.
And just like you, I think I met you briefly at the parade.
Probably.
But you're my brother.
Absolutely.
We're sitting here. We have a common bond, and that's what unites us. And
exactly.
And see, speaking on that a little bit, I've come to notice that there's some guys that's within our lodge that don't necessarily have the same political views that I do.
That's right. And
they don't
run into that.
They act differently than I do, which, I mean, I will give credit. Most of these dudes I'm around are 30 years or older than me.
Yeah.
But, nonetheless, there's still guys that believe different from me, and we just, we don't discuss it. It doesn't matter.
You're going to get along.
Whenever you're inside the lodge, you're one family, you're one brother.
Right.
Don't worry about what he believes.
And it's very harmonious. You'll see that the more you get into it. It is very harmonious.
All of this kind of leads into the next question. and you've touched on it. Have you gotten what you thought you would get out of becoming a Mason?
Got more than I expected because honestly, I didn't know what to expect. Because, like I said in the first part there, that I did not do research into it, other than a bunch of folks that I knew were like, "Hey, you're going to enjoy it." Because I mean, I'm a fairly outgoing person, and it's something new. I like new things,
Yeah.
so I didn't really know what to expect in it, getting into it at all. So I mean, I've just enjoyed the brotherhood, the learning, the sitting around, them teaching me something that outdates anybody sitting anywhere close to the
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
And it's
That,
just been something, it's been a learning experience that I've actually enjoyed.
yeah. And that's one of the things that really got me was the history, all that kind
Right.
of stuff. I always say the reason I joined was the history and the mystery. I wanted to
That's
know what
fair.
it was.
That's about the best description I've ever heard.
And you said sitting around with some guys that are 30 years older than you, and that's one of my favorite
Yeah.
parts of
Hmm.
masonry is just being able to go to lodge and sit with some of our elders
Right.
and just glean off the information that they have and all the
Right.
knowledge.
That's what I was going to
Brother
say, that
Bill,
knowledge.
I love to sit and talk to him.
And that's I don't know if we've said it on the show or not, but brother Hubert passed away, and that was a huge one that we lost. I hate
That left a
that.
void there.
Yes, big time. Um, but and we've said it before. There's nothing monetary that you're going to get out of masonry unless if you need assistance, of course
Right.
they'll help you. But the biggest thing to me is we're giving people, and that to
Yeah.
me is the reward. I mean, the charities, stuff like that. But you get, your own through learning ritual and
Right.
stuff like that, which you haven't seen.
I get that.
You're in for a big treat when I get to come do your lecture.
Nice.
But there's a lot more to it. You've basically just, I mean, if you're on an iceberg, you've taken a couple of chunks out of the top of it, and that's it.
Sounds about right. It's the best I've been able to.
And the rest of the star is hidden under the water. You can't even get
Yeah,
that, right?
That's about
exactly.
what I've kind of come to realize.
And the first degree is, I mean, it's nice, but it's so short and just there's not a whole lot in it.
No.
And you'll see. Just trust me, you'll see.
Okay, so you're entered apprentice. What do you believe you will see? And this is a trick question. I just realized that. What do you believe you will see or receive in the third degree? Or what do you think the third degree is?
I really don't have a clue.
You're going to be blindfolded anyway, right?
Yeah,
That'd be a
right.
thing.
And I added that for a reason because a lot of people that do the research and things like that think you're gonna have all these crazy stuff and everything, and you've seen um from the EA degree, it's basically like a little play.
Yeah.
Everything, everybody has a part in the play, and
So I kind of got to witness a little bit of that. And the reason why is because, January 15th, you were there obviously visiting from Pell City, and there was a couple of guys from Moody. I was able to go the next week, because they said that they were having an EA degree in Moody.
mhm,
And I got to go to it and actually, 7 days after I went through it, witness what I went through as the outsider,
yeah,
not
and
the one going through it. And that showed me a lot more of, I mean, obviously a lot of things I missed because didn't see it.
yeah,
But,
and that's something too that really helps with the lesson and
right,
everything too. I mean, you see it, you can kind of go, okay, that's what I was doing.
right.
That's what I was doing.
Yeah,
That's what
we
I was
try to
doing the whole
encourage all entered
Yeah.
apprentices and fellow craft, everybody to, go and watch the degree
time. Right,
Hmm.
being performed.
Yeah.
Go and watch the initiations so you will know, see what, first of all, it helps you with the verbiage,
right.
and see what happened to you.
Right. Exactly. And that's, I mean, we've talked on it before too, traveling.
Yeah,
Visit anywhere you can, any chance you get. Um, that's like I think I told you I'm going to Scotland in June.
yeah,
I'm trying to set it up to where I can go to lodge over there just to experience it. I
yeah,
mean,
obviously.
you have connections all over the world. Even as an entered apprentice, you have connections anywhere. Just about probably 98% of the world. So
But you won't
that's
be able to walk into a lodge as a EA
no,
unless it's an EA lodge.
yeah,
Right.
and you'd have to have somebody vouching for you and all
Right.
that, obviously. But um, and that was actually the next question. I didn't even realize it. I just
Yeah.
looked
Have
down
you
at my
been able to
notes,
visit other
and,
lodges?
and
Yeah.
you just answered that. You went to Moody.
I did.
Now, an add-on onto that. Well, let me go ahead and back up to the actual question. What, other than what you already mentioned about getting to actually see the degree and everything, what what was the experience like? Just from an outsider's point of view, somebody just listening in that's not a Mason. How were you received? And
Oh man, I mean, I wasn't the only one that went. Obviously, I mean,
yeah,
there was three other guys that went with me from our lodge, guys that have been in for 20, 30, 40 years, whatever.
so they walked in and knew everybody pretty
Oh god,
much.
we showed up and they started calling by name, whatever else. Two of the guys that were from Moody obviously recognized me as the new EA from
Yeah,
Raglan. I'd just gone through it. So, there was no question at all about, oh, can he be here? Nothing like that. No question. Grab your apron, man, get ready.
yeah.
They
Um,
were super friendly. They fed us well.
that's what was what I was going to ask next. How was the food?
Oh, man, it was killer.
That's one thing you'll learn
I've
about.
never had a redneck burrito up until that night.
Oh, I wish I
Redneck
would have
burrito.
gone now.
I don't know. I don't
Sounds
know.
good.
I don't know how to
Yeah,
describe it to you, but it's about the best I know to tell you.
heck yeah.
Redneck burrito.
Normally, Moody does a real good job at cooking. We're trying to get that way. I'm the one that usually brings the food for Pell City, so a lot of times it's
I don't know. You gonna
not
go a
that
long
great.
way to have to throw down with Brother Yogi. Let me tell you.
Oh, I know. I'm actually a dual member at Moody right now. I've got to get paid up with them. I'm going to demit from them and just stick with my home lodge. But paying double lodges, that's rough.
Yeah, I can imagine.
One of the things that you realize when you travel from lodge to lodge, and I've gone to many lodges now, is how these lodges and how the Masons that are members in these lodges have kept the work so perfect.
Yeah,
You know, you go,
everything
I
was
can
pretty
go,
uniform. Yeah.
yeah, I can go from Coosa Valley to Ben M. Jacobs
Gulf
and not
Shores.
yeah, anywhere in Alabama and not miss a lick. Now
Yeah.
that being said, we've got a guy from Georgia, Shane, that comes and visits.
Mm-hmm.
Shane
What
Woodall.
all? Yeah.
Shane Woodall that comes and visits, and he is just like, he wants to look in just
Yeah.
just to see,
That's
this is,
what
and he'll say this is different, the furniture is different, this is
Oh
different.
yeah.
So, you
we
know,
we did a ballot the other night, and that I may be telling on us here, but since he's not a member, but he went out and was the Tyler. So Ben's our Tyler, so he could come in and ballot with us. And I told him when he walked out, I said, "Hey, you can stick your head in the door, just look,
being curious.
Well,
Yeah.
that's one thing I'm curious about. Like I noticed you obviously been to Raglan. And I didn't. Did you said you've never been
I've
there?
never been there, no, but I'd like to.
So
Definitely.
I'm curious about whenever I get an opportunity, eventually seeing the Pale City Lodge, being that I am from over here, but going from Raglan to Moody, I mean, everything's the same for the most part. Symbolism, the speaking, the
yeah."
teachings, whatever, it's all the same. But
The
just
lodge is going
the
to be
lodge
set up
is
different.
completely different. I was like, oh my
Yeah,
god,
and a lot of that, like ours, is the same way. It's an older lodge. The Moody Lodge, I think it was built more recently,
yeah, it looked it.
so it's a lot more modernized, I guess you
Oh
could
yeah,
say. But it really is. It's a beautiful lodge. And ours is similar. We've got the carpet and everything. Now we have, I think, I can't remember if y'all do or not, the star in the middle, the Eastern Star, the colorful
yeah,
star. Okay. We've got that. And our chairs, of course, are going to be different. I mean, there's going to be some similarities.
right.
All the setup itself is going to be the same.
I mean, I've heard about some other lodges elsewhere throughout the state. Apparently, there's one I think in North Alabama that's just the two or three guys from my lodge that's been there. Just it's immaculate. It's
Really.
what you should strive for your lodge to look like.
And now there's several around that I want to visit. Helion Lodge in Huntsville is one of them. I've heard, now the outside of it's beautiful. I've never
Right.
seen the inside other than just a couple of pictures here and there, but it looks like it is going to be a beautiful lodge. Now, if you go, especially, you look online and look at like England and
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
Oh God,
I've seen
that's
some videos that have popped up from over there.
yeah. And that's I think that's what we kind of go for. We like the suits and the ties and everything and the big festive board type stuff.
Yeah,
Or go
that's
to go to if you ever get a chance, go to
Revival.
the no go to
Oh,
the George Washington Masonic Memorial,
yes.
and they have different. I mean, there's multiple lodges in there.
Yeah.
Lodges that Jackson set in, and it's just the history in there is so. I mean, it's just so there's so much. It's so deep,
Yeah.
and the how beautiful those
Oh,
lodges
I
are
bet
they are so beautiful.
they
I
keep
mean,
all that up. I'm sure
oh
they
yeah,
have folks that go in there and
it
clean.
was all inspiring when we went. And I need to go back because after I went, somebody was like, "Well, did you go to the York Rite building or to the or Scottish Rite?"
Oh yeah, the tipple of the
Yes. And I was like, I did not go there. And it's like, well, man, you missed it all. And I was like,
it's
so
you
I've got
missed
to
the
go
whole
back.
point.
Yeah, the whole point.
Yeah,
I've got to go back just for that.
that's what we need to do that one day. Make a trip up there
Let's do it.
just to do that.
That
That'd be
sounds
down.
great.
And that actually leads into that next question, kind of. Do you have anything that interests you, like the Scottish Rite stuff, York Rite? Do you know anything
I
about
don't know
that?
anything about it. I mean,
Okay.
that's the thing is like I'm so just at the beginning of this trying to
Yeah.
figure things out. I want to ask questions, but I don't know what I can. I don't want to step on nobody's toes,
Yeah.
nothing like that. I don't know what I can't do.
You,
Obviously, like I know I can't sit on really anything other than EA's lodge, but I don't know what I can't do, what I can say, what I can't say. I don't want to make nobody mad, step on toes, something like
yeah.
that. So I really don't know at this time. And I'm sure that will come later.
Yeah. You can ask pretty much anything.
Just
I
anything.
mean,
Yeah.
if if they say, oh, we've got to kick you out for right now to go to a Master Mason Lodge, you can ask them, well, what do y'all do? Can I ask what you're doing?
Oh, see, that's
They're
a
either going to give you an answer or they're going to say, well, I can't tell you
well,
yet.
that's a lot of what I've been through. our our lodge has been really good since January. I think there's only been probably two that have not been allowed to sit in for the opening,
Yeah.
and that was just because he's trying to learn what he's got to do as far as whenever I get ready to give second degree
Right.
or go to second degree, and they're really good about opening up where I can stay up until it's past all the business and work or
Yeah.
getting to the work, and then it's have a good
Yeah.
day. We'll see you, Bubba. We love you.
And that's a lot of what you said. I mean, they're probably getting ready for your next
Oh, they point
degree.
blank told me it's what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, and
I mean,
it's,
obviously they haven't given any detail. Hey, we're getting ready. We got to do it this way, do it that way. Just we want to make sure we're sharp because there's going to be visitors. Obviously,
all right.
whenever they put out the word, hey, this is what we're doing this date. I know people are going to come. You're planning on being there,
Yeah.
and they just want to have it perfect. But most
Yeah.
nights
And,
we
and,
open lunch at 7 o'clock. I'm at home at 7:30. You know what I'm saying?
and that's one thing, if you open in an entered apprentice lodge, an actual open in the EA lodge, you can't do work that's in the fellow craft or the
No,
master mason.
Right.
So, but
Strictly, yeah.
if you and you'll learn more about this later on. If you open in an EA, you can go up, obviously.
yeah,
So
clearly,
you just can't. If I was to open in a master mason, then I can't say, okay, well, now I'm going to open in a fellow
right.
craft. You can't go back down. But that's why they do that, and it's good that you're getting to see all that. When I first started, when I was an EA, you couldn't come in at all. All business was done in Master Mason in our lodge.
I mean, when I say business, it's not like anything that's master
Just
mason degree.
paying the
It's
bills.
paying the bills, certain little things that the lodge are doing. Like we just recently had the butt sale.
Yeah,
Obviously they want to be involved in that, and they helped as much as I could until my daughter came down with COVID. And because I go to lodge with older folks, I was like, probably shouldn't take that to them.
yeah.
But
I'm sure they're appreciative.
right, it's not being anything serious. I was actually able to be in the meeting whenever we had some families that got displaced out of Oklahoma, able to help them out with some Christmas stuff.
Cool.
It took well past Christmas to get it done, but still,
Yeah.
I was able to see that part. Now, whatever business they have elsewhere after I go home, obviously I know.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a question for you.
Okay.
As a new EA, sitting in on the business. Okay. Okay. Sitting in on the business part of it and hearing, go to the order, all these different
Right.
things that they go through. Do you find how am I trying to say this?
I think I see where
You
you're
see where I'm going with
I do too.
if this
but
was the
don't know.
only thing, if this was the only aspect of lodge, going in, opening lodge, hearing the business part of things, closing lodge, would that continue to interest you as a Mason? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. Like if that was
If
the
it
only,
was just
if
it's
EA
just-
was the final end all be all, would it?
no,
Not so much that,
not
just-
just in EA. I'm talking about in all the degrees of if meetings consisted of opening lodge, reading the minutes, reading the business, closing the lodge, how would you feel about going to lodge every week?
I mean, honestly, I still think I'd enjoy it.
You think you would?
Just because I mean,
And I think that goes. I think it's one of those you kind of have to see more of it. You kind of have to get in and be in, and
yeah.
when you're doing the work and
And
stuff like
obviously,
that.
I understand at this point in time there's more to it. But back, what you're saying, if that was, even if that was all there was up to the next 2 degrees, I still think I'd enjoy it just because it's time to get away from everyday life, just sit down, fellowship with some folks, learn some experiences, regardless of what it may be. Hear all the crap stories. I mean, obviously, we're all
Yeah,
dudes here. We all tell lies. We be telling some stories that are lies, and you know it.
yeah.
But it's just a nice getaway from everything too, and being
Well,
that is not the end all be all of it, though. I am interested to see what comes next, what comes after that, and once I finally make it to third degree, what I can be involved in, help out with, whatever else, and hopefully move around and take different
get
parts.
some officer
And so
stuff.
Right.
you're a lot like me and Zach because we don't find that stuff necessarily boring or
Right.
mundane, but there are people,
It has
and
to.
I have
sure.
run into EAs that they're like, man, if that's all y'all are going to do,
Right. And that's the thing is,
it's kind of boring.
I think you've got to go into it knowing that the first 3 levels of it. Obviously, you come in baseline with something that is so shrouded in ancient secrecy, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
I don't like to use that word.
Mystery.
There you go.
Yeah.
But it's so shrouded, nobody on the outside knows what it is. As closely guarded as it is, you've got to go into it knowing that, hey, I'm going into the first level. It's just like playing a video game. You play the first level, you don't know what you're doing. You're like, oh man, this first level sucks. Why would you quit whenever you got so much more to go?
Yeah.
That's my thing.
That does make sense, I guess. And it is nice having that extra,
Terminology I could think to use it for that would be better. I could better explain it with. It's like whenever we got in the firefighting. We first got in, we were not allowed to do anything.
Yeah, probie.
Couldn't drive trucks. Couldn't go, couldn't be the point man with hose stuff. You had so much more to learn. And then all of a sudden you're 4 or 5 years down. And like me, I made an officer down here at the local fire department.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm the point guy and everybody's looking at me. So, I mean, when you get into things like this, you got to look at it like I do. Like, hey, I went from being baseline at 19 years old, firefighter, couldn't do crap but throw water on the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with masonry. I'm right here at the end, or at the beginning of it, to see what this side holds. How far can I progress as we get down the road?
Yeah, I got you. And that's a good way to look at it, I think.
And it's so layered. It takes a minute to really see, as an EA, as a fellow craft, as a master mason, to see what's going on in the lodge. For me, it did.
Yeah.
Because the guy that taught me my lessons, he said, eventually, he said, it's going to pop into your head what's going on.
Yeah,
it's going to be like a light. Hey, there's that light. Light's going to go off, and it has, to really see how the lodge operates, to see what's going on. And
I can agree with that. Once you go through the fellowcraft, you're actually going to start learning a little bit in it.
Yeah.
You'll see a little bit more of where we come from, the actual history, what some of the symbolism type stuff will start to come into play a little bit. And then once you get your master mason, that's just, you're everything. That's your K2. That's your you're done then.
well, not necessarily.
And that's what I was going to say. There's more to come.
So that's one of the questions
required.
What do you expect to gain out of your journey in masonry? And there are, and I'm going to get onto some of the appendant bodies, but there are 3 levels in masonry, and master mason obviously is the highest level that you can attain as a mason.
Mm-hmm.
But once you have received that light, there is more light in masonry through these appendant bodies. We have the York Rite body, we have the Scottish Rite bodies, and there's even more stuff. There's the Eastern Star, there's Shrine, the Kids, there's the Rainbow Girl, the Demolay Boys. There's just so much out there. The Cedars, what is it? Tall Cedars of Lebanon. And there's just so many other bodies out there that just take the story a little bit farther.
Yeah.
And I love my lodge.
Right.
I love my lodges because I have 2 lodges. I'm a plural member, and you're not very far from Pell City, so that might be something we need to get him to look into too, right?
Well, he lives in Raglan.
That's not opposed. How far is Raglan from Pell City?
From your house to his house is probably about 6, 7 minutes.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
Yeah, it could be a lodge in 15 minutes.
yeah.
Honestly, I mean, Pell City, 20 minutes, 15 miles, give or take.
Yeah.
Ain't bad.
Yeah,
Depending on how many people.
we're
Yeah.
I'm going to go on and put the invitation now, but we're definitely looking to see you at Ben and Jacobs.
Yeah. Shoot
And
you.
also, once you have turned in the next degree,
Right.
and once you're made a master mason, it might be me and Zach, we go down to Glencoe for the Scottish Rite,
Mhm.
and it might be something that you want to look into.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Now, and
I
I
told
will
my
say,
daughter Glencoe, I'm there every Monday night before
yeah,
lodge anyhow.
That's what, yeah, and
but that's we go. What is it? The fourth Wednesday, I think.
yeah, and I missed this past one.
I did the Zoom meeting, and it was the same stuff
Okay.
pretty much. But we're the Etowah. It's the Etowah County Scottish Rite Club,
Yeah.
and it's under the Valley of Birmingham. And so they're learning. You get the 4th through the 32nd degree in Scottish Rite, and they're learning. I think they said it's around the 14th, 15th, something like that. 2 different degrees, and their club will be the ones to put on that degree for Birmingham.
Gotcha.
So I think it's pretty cool. Now, like I said, when we went through, we got the Albert Pike conferral, and that's basically they put it up on a screen, and somebody stands there and says, "Okay, this degree is this degree is this degree is this."
And you have to do a lot of seeking out.
Yeah, we had to do our own. We had to actually pretty much read a book to understand a lot of it. But yeah, York Rite, I like York Rite. York
I do
Rite
too.
is a lot of fun.
I like the Scottish Rite. I like
I
them
do
both
too.
equally, but I love my brothers up there at
Mhm,
York
York Rite, yeah,
Honestly, that's part of my thing too. Is like they kind of touched on different things, how far it can go whenever you start splitting off into the York rights, Scottish rights,
Mhm.
whatever.
It gets deep.
But I haven't focused too far down the road because the biggest thing they keep pushing on me right now is what? How do they word it? Once you make Master Mason, you're there, but there's still a lesson to take,
Yeah,
but it's apparently optional.
yeah.
To turn
And,
in, yeah, you don't have to turn in
and,
A lot of
everybody,
a lot of
everybody
states
keeps
it's
telling me
mandatory.
is like if you're gonna get the Master Mason, they're like, just go ahead and take that lesson.
Yeah, I
Go
would agree
ahead,
with
get it
that.
done. Go ahead, give it back. That way, you're there.
Yeah, it's going to be real similar to the ones you've been doing.
So, I mean, like I said, right now I'm just focused one on getting the last part of this nailed down, going up to the next level, and then there, make it the 3rd degree, kind of hang out there
Yeah,
for a second, and then get back into it.
and that's the way I would do it.
Right.
I would once you get in and go to a couple of Master Mason degrees too
Right.
before you look into doing anything.
Well, see, and that's part of my thing too. Is like I'm mad at myself because it's taking me so long. But what I told them, is they talk about whenever they get young guys, and that's what I had to tell one of the guys. Like I'm not as young as you want to think I am, but
Yeah,
I'm 30 years old too. Yet.
yeah,
So I'm juggling baseball, coupling everything else on top of trying to learn the lesson. So it's taking me longer than what I wanted.
yeah.
But ultimate plan is to try to have it all done by June. That way we can get in there and I can really find out what it's like,
And
what we're doing.
that 2nd degree is going to come so much faster for you.
Yeah,
That's what I've been told by just about everybody.
a lot of
I
a lot of it's very similar.
I've got a question that just came to mind.
What you got?
Okay, so January 15th, you were initiated
Yes.
into Apprentice. Since becoming a Mason, have you had any people just say, have you had any, obviously you don't have any of
Right.
this,
No symbolism.
jewelry or anything, so nobody knows unless you tell them, but anyone that you told,
Oh no, they know.
has anybody been like, oh no,
I haven't had anybody real away from it because somebody. It was actually about 2 or 3 weeks back. Somebody asked me about doing something on a Monday night. I was like, "Nah, I can't do that." That's why I get up at 2 o'clock, and that starts to say half my day.
Yeah,
They're like, "Oh, what do you mean?" I was like, "Dude, I don't go home. I'm not home till like 9 o'clock most Monday nights because I leave Lincoln, go to Raglan, get my kids, get my wife, go to Tumble on Monday nights. That's an hour, hour and a half. Come home by the time I drop them off. Time to go to lunch.
yeah,
And then, depending on how they do things with that, I'm there. And it's, I tell them, like, hey, I got lodge, everything else tonight. I don't tell them anything else. They're like, oh.
what kind of lodge?
But, well, most of them understand what it is. Like, one of the fire captains out there, where the fire department works on site, it piqued his interest because he was like, really? He said, I would have never guessed. I was like, I mean, it's not like I'm going out here advertising. I mean, it's not really just something that everybody can know unless you want to join.
Mm.
And
Now, is he a Mason?
he's not.
Okay, I know. a couple of the guys that I
Oh,
used to be.
yeah,
I don't
I know
know.
who one is.
Yeah, you're probably talking about the same one I am.
But as far as people finding out, nobody, everybody's like, man, I just never would have thought. It is what it is. But there was a way somebody that works around me, he didn't work with me, but he works around me fairly regular. I'm still trying to figure out how he figured out I had a petition.
Now they put it on the Grand Lodge website when you get initiated.
But is he the
So
only
that may
way? He would
be.
have to be a Mason to see that, though.
No, it's open website.
Well, yeah, but nobody's going to be.
You're not going
I
to go
don't think.
research.
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't think.
yeah.
On the Grand Lodge.
He come to me and he was like, understand you're getting initiated in the Raglan. I was like, how do you know that?
Are you going to be there?
He's like, I know people. I was like,
And,
clearly.
and one of the reasons I asked, I have a Masonic tag on my
Right.
truck and work in Mountain Brook, and some of my, especially Catholic. Catholic customers have questioned me. Oh, you're not a Mason, are you? And I'm like, yeah, I am. Is that a problem? Not really. I think it's. I don't think it's a problem. And it's funny. It's not so much a problem with my customers. I've had people question me on it. And I just wondered as
Right.
coming into Masonry,
I
if you'd
mean,
run into the same.
if anybody ever finds out, I think it's a lot of the same for everybody. You get the, well, what's it like?
Yeah. Tell me the secrets.
Once you find out.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I ever know to tell anybody.
That's what I always say. I mean, if it's a guy comes up to me and says, what are your secrets? Are you Illuminati? Come find out. You can come find out.
You're more than welcome to come petition the lodge.
Exactly.
Yeah, everybody wants to know where that national treasure is.
Yeah.
Right?
Everybody just wants to know, but not willing to do the work to figure out things. Like, if you want to figure it out, shut up and come on.
That's
Exactly.
right. Join up.
And that's
one more.
Yeah, that's I think we've harped on that a lot on the show about, if you want to know, just do it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You get in there, you don't like it,
Right.
quit paying your dues.
There you go.
I mean, any place that's a dues paying, if you're in a, I don't know,
The most interesting one I got, now that I just thought about it, one of the nurses at work, she made comment because she's from Raglan and she obviously knows a lot of the same people I do. She made the comment, it's like, I heard you doing the lodge down there. I was like, I did. She says, so what's it like? And I said, it's can't take. And then somebody was like, no, seriously, like, what do y'all do in lodge? And she told them, she was like, all they do is go down there, shut the door, drink cold beer. I was like, no. So that's not it.
Yeah,
Not that at all.
no. I mean, it's a lot.
We're not the BPOE, right?
What's that?
Benevolent Protective Order.
Oh, and this is dumb, but found a thing. It's the Ancient and Honorable Order of Turtles.
Turtles?
You ever heard of that?
No, but it sounds cool.
It's basically a drinking glove.
Oh, okay. Well,
I've actually heard that before.
That's
turtles.
Yeah,
I stumbled
I
across
joined it
something.
just because of it, but
Stumbled on something on TikTok or something other about it.
they have you have to be clean minded to answer to. You got 4 questions you have to answer. It's weird questions. Like one of them is, what does a cow have 4 of that a woman has 2 of?
Oh, that's
legs. But I don't know. I just thought it was funny, so I joined it just so I can say I'm a turtle.
Oh man.
But well, we're at about 40 minutes almost, so I guess we can go ahead and shut it down unless you got any other thoughts you want to add.
Y'all are free to fire away. I'll answer the best I can. It's up to you. I don't care.
You got anything?
I think that kind of wraps it up. One thing that I would like to say, and we were that last question that I asked, and you said that you were basically drawn to Masonry by family members, really.
Yeah,
right?
the family members and a little bit of mystique because we've all watched something on the History Channel about it.
So I had heard all the negative hoopla and stuff about Masonry whenever I was preparing to be initiated. But the thing that I always went back to was I looked at the character of the men that I knew
and
were Masons.
That was my thing.
And I'm like, that dispelled so many of the myths. It's like, this is just a bunch of malarkey.
Yeah.
And anything can be said, TikTok, YouTube, whatever. Anything can be said. We can take and and sensationalize anything.
Right.
But the
Easily.
reality is something totally different until you get into Lodge
Right.
and until you see the character of these men, until you see the morality, until you see the brotherly love, until you see the fellowship
Hmm.
that surrounds
Yep.
Masonry. And I mean, that's what lights the fire
And, and
for
that's my
me.
biggest thing. Is like, obviously growing up when the History Channel was more than Ancient Aliens or digging for the gold.
Oh boy, here we go.
Back whenever history was, the History Channel was History Channel.
There's our goal.
But back whenever it actually surrounded things, it talked about, the presidents that have been part of these various different secret fraternities, Masonry obviously being a big one of it.
Right.
All their symbolism and this different thing that has to do with the country, whatever else. I picked up on it at an early age watching it that nobody actually knows. As far as these great historians that are speaking
Right.
on it. Obviously, they're probably not part of a lodge because they wouldn't be talking about it. But my thing is this guy says this, and then this guy, they swap to him. Well, what do you think this means? And he gives a completely different answer. I'm like, okay, you're both full of crap.
Yeah.
You don't even know what he's trying to say, and you just spoke of something different. So when they're like, oh, it's devil worshiping, or it does this, or they don't do nothing but sit around and drink beer, or whatever, you don't know.
Yeah.
So the family members draw me to it, and the mystique of it too draw me to it because.
Well, I have yet to see a beer popped in the lodge.
You're not.
Maybe
You're not going.
Maybe. Well, that's after. Afterwards is another thing.
Yeah.
But lodge is a sacred place for us.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying is like, that's the family members draw me to it. And like you said, speaking on the character of the men that that were in it. Looking at my wife's granddaddy, I mean, he's 70 years old. I mean, the man, I'm sure, has done things in the past that people don't agree with. I don't know. I've only known him for about 10 years. But it's hard to look at him and the things he does, as much as he's willing to help folks out, and go, yeah, that dude's definitely an worship.
That's a Masonic heart right there.
Yeah.
I mean,
helping people out.
Mhm.
He does it. We got a guy up there. He's been more than helpful. Anytime I've texted him, hey, can we get together Wednesday or Thursday about 4:00 and let's go over some of this? Man, it was never a no. It's never a hesitation. Hey, let me check my schedule. Nothing. I'll be there.
Right.
9 times out of 10, when I'm coming home for getting my kid at 2:30, he's already there.
Yeah. Ben's actually been teaching one of our guys. He's a fellow crafter now, and that's just how you have to be. And I think it's said in the apprentice degree that the brethren of the lodge will be just as willing to teach you as you are to learn. And that's
absolutely.
And it just doesn't just go for that. Anytime, if you need assistance with something,
right,
all you got to do is call a brother. If they can't help you, they'll find somebody that can.
And that's what I'm saying. It's just for the character of everybody that I've been around. 2 or 3 of the guys that I already knew getting into the lodge, and 2 or 3 guys that I've worked around, from our time in the fire department, I would never know.
Yeah.
It's just hard to look at that and go, yeah, that's definitely an evil guy.
Yeah.
Y'all know what we do, even in just the first degree lodge. What it's around, how we open, how we close, everything else. I just don't get, it must be evil. No, just because you don't know what it is, don't mean we're in there.
I took my vows on the King James Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, and I want to get too religious right here, but a house divided against itself cannot stand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we're doing something evil or dark in lodge or whatever, but we're opening up with prayer and
seems a little backwards, doesn't it?
Like I said, I'll go back. A house divided against itself cannot stand. And we talked about presidents, and not just presidents.
Yeah, it's a mixture of everybody.
Yeah,
people outside this,
and that can be a dirty word, but politicians, firemen. See a lot of firemen, police officers that good, morally sound men that are brothers,
right?
And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for some more brothers. Okay.
Exactly.
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons for this podcast. Not only just reaching out and having brothers that we know and lodge and everything. We hand them a card. Hey, check out our Masonic podcast.
We're trying to get out there to people.
Person that might be curious and they say, well, man, I wouldn't mind being a Mason, but they've heard all this negativity.
Right.
So see, that's one thing too, is whenever the night, Yeah, it was actually the night that I was brought in. Whenever you were there, I'm sitting out there with a Tyler, clearly. But he told me, he said, man, he said, people are going to find out. He said, people are going to ask you, especially once you make the third degree and you're able to wear the symbol, whatever. He
That's
said,
what we wear proudly.
right. And
We've got our Mason
Oh
shirts
yeah,
on.
it's a treasure right on.
he was like, he told me, like, people are going to ask her, like, oh, you worship the devil. You do this, or y'all, fighting goats, whatever. Yep. He said it, not me. I was like, well, what do you tell? He said, the only thing I ever tell them is we open with prayer over the King James Bible and we close with prayer over the Bible.
Yeah,
He said that's he said he tells people all the time. So that's one of our greatest instruments in lodge is the Bible.
yeah. I
And the
mean,
man sits in the first pew right in front of me whenever we go to church on Sunday. So,
yeah, and
It's
that's
your, it's your instruction manual, right?
yeah,
and that's what we've mentioned it several times on the show about being Christians,
right.
and whether people want to believe it or not,
I don't
it's
care.
up to them.
You
But,
know,
You can
I've been a
form your own
member.
opinions. I don't
I've been a
care.
member over at Eden West Side for it's coming up on a year here
mhm.
in a couple of months. But one of the things they do at church is after the service is over, Brother Jackie, he's like, I'm going to go over here in this room. Anybody that's new, wants to come and sit
Right.
down and talk, just come on. And well, I had been a member at a church. I had been there for almost 4 years, never met the pastor because it's one of the
Right.
mega churches. I never met the pastor.
Let's
And
see,
so it was one of those intimate moments where I'm sitting across the table
it'll make you
from
feel
the
like home.
preacher. And the question I asked him was, I told him, I said, I'm a Freemason. Right out of the gate, I said, I am a Freemason. Do you have a problem with me being a member of this church as a Freemason? He was like, I don't have a problem with it at all. You love the Lord. You
Let's say as
say.
long as your faith
Mhm.
where it's
And I
supposed to
knew
be.
I was at home at that
Yeah.
moment
Right.
in time.
Let's see, that's the thing is like the guy that goes to church with me. His I think it's his nephew is the one that's preaching up there. Everybody knows good and well that he is a Mason. A couple of my family members that go to church with us have made mention that I'm a Mason too. It is what it is. Nobody bucks about it. And
Yeah.
that's the only thing we've ever been told was as long as your faith is where it's supposed to be, then who cares what else you're doing?
When we
Right.
went through the Scottish Rite degrees, one of the people going through those degrees was a pastor. You
Mhm.
remember him and
Yeah.
his son were going through at the
I
same
don't
time.
remember his name, but I
I
remember who
can't
you're
know.
talking about. I remember what he
Let's
looked
see, that's
like.
another thing too, is Peyton's uncle. He's a preacher. I'm probably going to get this wrong. Is it Morning Star or Evening Star? Going out of Pale City down towards the dam.
I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
it's
but
out there
it's
just
been so
side
long
of the
since I
road
went
there.
down
He's
there.
a preacher down there. You gonna tell me, man, gets up preaching the word of God?
Yeah,
Come on,
yeah.
come on, man.
I mean, we're not.
You tell
I
me
wouldn't
how
say
that
we're
works.
preachers, but we're told to spread the message. So
There you go.
And that's part of this podcast is dispelling myths.
exactly,
A bunch of the
right.
myths and a bunch of the
Informative.
misconceptions that are out there. And having you in here, you're
Right.
fresh, you're new to masonry, and just hearing your perspective that helps us,
Right.
and
that's
might helps that listener that's out there saying, maybe I'm just kind of stick my foot, stick
Yeah.
my toe into the water.
And
Yeah,
it's like Zach
that's
said. I mean, what's wrong with getting into it a little bit? And if you don't like it, don't come back.
yeah.
That's right.
I mean, even if you were to get into it and say we do, worship goats or whatever,
Greatest of all time.
yeah. What is
That's
to,
George Washington.
what is there to keep you there? I mean, if you take your Masonic obligation, just like we all did,
Right.
and say I wanted to be a devil worshiper, all I got to do is go against that obligation.
Right.
So, I mean, if I'm going to take my obligation and take it seriously, being
Yeah,
that I
see.
am a Christian,
That's my thing too. Is why would you go through the obligation with the steps that we had to take?
hmm
Why would you go through that if your intentions are evil
right,
and take that chance to really screw up your whole thing you're trying to figure out?
exactly,
That don't
and
make any
that's
sense.
there's been people that have done that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh
It's
yeah,
all
And how
there's always
makes it
there's
worthwhile.
always somebody that's looking to cause strife in any
right.
organization. One of the things we interviewed a guy that he's coming in our newest EA that's coming to Lodge, and that was one of the questions that we went through several questions, just talking small talk about family, this and that, and then all of a sudden I look at him point blank and I'm like, you do believe in God. You do believe in God. And he was like, kind of looked at me funny for a second. And he was like, I don't necessarily go to church. I'm not
Didn't ask
asking
that.
you if you're going to
I'm not
church.
asking if
Yeah.
you're
I'm
religious.
asking you, do you believe in
I'm
God?
not
It's
asking
like,
if you're
yeah,
religious. If you go through the church doors every time the door unlocks, I'm not
right.
asking.
We're not asking that. We just want to know, do you have a belief in God?
Right.
And he was like, yeah. So I was like, well, okay, you can be a Mason.
There you go.
So, hey, you got to believe in God to believe in Mason. To
Yeah.
be a Mason.
And that's one thing they told me right from the get whenever I was getting through it or getting ready to go through it was we're not a religion. We don't sit down. It's not the whole basis of what we do. Obviously, it is heavily influenced.
We're not a political think
We're
tank.
not a political
Yeah.
think tank. We don't discuss politics, none of that. Don't do anything to create a divide because you may not believe exactly how I believe. But it's, like I said, it's still heavily founded with it. So,
What's the thing you say? It's so.
Uh, oh my gosh.
Uh,
I know what you're talking about.
So interwoven.
So,
I got him.
oh my goodness, it's in the lecture I'm going to try to give you for your fellowcraft too.
he can't come up with what he's trying to say
It's
here. I don't
okay.
know if you can, cuz.
Zach's having a senior moment.
Yeah.
He's playing my part.
It's basically so intertwined with the religion as to lay us under obligation to pay the rational homage to the deity.
There you
I
go.
mean,
Ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom.
it's very closely related. It is, and you'll see that a lot more.
And I think
But
Couple of grades.
if you think about mankind, if you can take religion and you can take politics out,
right,
we'd
we'd be in a lot
be
better
in a lot
place.
better place.
My
Yeah.
God, yes.
Yeah,
And that's my thing too. Is like, I think that's what scares a lot of people away from it because you've got people that say they believe in God, not necessarily in religion. That makes any sense, you know what I'm trying
I
to say?
think that's what deism is. Somebody that believes in God but doesn't want to believe in a religion.
Well, my thing is like I get what they're trying to say is like a person can believe in Jesus. Nobody goes
relationship.
nobody goes to the Father except through Him.
Or an
But-
agnostic might be.
Yeah.
What it's not what I'm trying to say is like not necessarily getting into organized religion. Because they're like, oh, you're just giving the church money so that guy can make money, stuff like that. But maybe
No, that's so they can keep the doors open.
I know
and pay the
that,
light
but
bills.
what I'm saying is like a lot of people, especially nowadays in this world we live
just like
in,
Lodge.
Yeah.
they see these mega churches that the pastors are making $10-15 million a year and stuff like that. And I can kind of get where they're coming from. Like that's not teaching the right things of God if you're making that kind of money and people are struggling in your congregation.
But wouldn't it be
Unless you're
nice if
using
we
that
can
for
make
something.
$15,000 for this 40-minute sermonette?
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can go on with you. If I can make a living off the podcast, I'm happy.
Yeah.
If I can make a living off the podcast, and I'd love to.
Wouldn't that be
Oh, yeah.
awesome?
But I think that's what scares them away is like, oh man, I believe in Jesus, but I'm not necessarily looking to get into a religion. Well, come to Lodge. Come talk to us because it's
Yeah.
not what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, that's he mentioned Brother Bill earlier. Brother Bill's a preacher at Eden Westside, and that we're not supposed to talk about religion in Lodge, but we do sometimes.
I mean, it comes up,
on
but it's not the basis of everything.
Religion, we just talk about God.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
and that's what I'm saying. Is like it does come up. It's going to come up, obviously, and especially like in our lodge. Got a couple older guys that are in their 90s.
Mm-hmm.
They'll tell you point blank in the fast and a hurry, like, hey, my time on this earth is super short.
Right.
And so we get on the subject of God, Jesus, and whatever else, but it's not, you better believe this way, you're going to burn in hell and you're not going to be with us in
Right.
heaven.
No
Yeah.
condemnation cast.
Yeah. Well, and that's what, Masonry teaches you to be moral and ethical and all
Right.
that. So, I mean, in a way, it's teaching the same thing that the Bible is teaching. So,
Right.
I mean, there's that, but it definitely is not a religion. It's not going to be
But it
what
was all taken
separates
from the
you.
Bible pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree.
Now, if you live by what we do as Masons, our obligations, our tenets, and everything, you're going to be pretty much in line with
Oh, yeah.
what the Bible teaches.
Oh,
The two work together so well.
yeah, it does.
And we talked about this in our earlier podcast that
Interwoven, that's the word, interwoven.
they work together so well.
Entwined.
Yeah, that since I became a Mason, my Bible reading has just gone from just reading a chapter here or there to where and right now I'm in First Chronicles.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been through all the king stuff, and right now I'm into the part where David is handing over everything to Solomon. So where that where I'm leading to with that. So I'm just like really engrossed in the Bible right now. But even once I get through that, I just noticed that since I became a Mason, that all this has just picked up more and more
Right.
and
I
more.
can't see where it would hurt.
Yeah.
That's
And you'll get that way once you get especially get your third degree. Then you go back and read some of the passages and stuff like that. It's like, oh my gosh.
I get it.
Yeah. I mean,
And I know what that word means.
yeah. Yeah. And it'll pop some light bulbs on for sure.
and our podcast has started. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren
Mhm.
to dwell together in
Right.
unity.
That's
Like the
Psalms
precious ointment upon
133.
the head, the precious ointment upon the head that ran
Ran
down
down upon
upon
the
the beard,
beard.
even Aaron's beard, that went down to the skirts of his garment. As all this is Bible.
Mhm.
So I'm like,
Hear that much the other day.
you heard it.
What's that? The whole
Yeah, but it's only been like a week or two back. I don't know how it got brought up. But
Well,
yeah, I
that's
100% heard
yeah.
that.
you
That's
were
that's
probably
what
at
they
that
use
EA
in
lodge.
that's what they use in the entered apprentice degree.
That's right. That's where it
Yeah,
is.
when they're taking
I
your
told you, man. There's a lot goes on throughout my week. Okay.
Yeah, I get that. We'll explain more to you about that here in a minute because I'll tell you about well, I can't tell you about the Fellowcraft and Master Mason, but there's some verses that are
Yeah,
used in
right.
those too. Um, but and there's a lot more that we could talk about. We're coming up on an hour now, so I don't want to give our listeners too much
Hey, I'm
too
used
much at one
an
time.
hour ain't nothing. I'm used to doing an hour on ours every
Yeah,
time. So I mean, it's
we
just
we usually try to stay about 30 to
we
45
we were
minutes.
reprimanded by one of our listeners.
Yeah,
It's like, hey, y'all may want to,
short.
may want to keep that around 40 minutes.
I got you. I
But
got you.
I do have some ideas for the next one. And it might be something you could come in on and maybe touch on a little bit
Okay.
about some working tools and how they're related to our everyday life. So um, I'm gonna say let's go ahead and end it right here. We're at 56 minutes. So
I'm sorry for making you run
Under
up.
an hour.
Y'all said y'all wanted me to come talk. You've known me long enough. I
Hey,
can
that's
talk,
right.
and you know it.
Oh,
It's been a pleasure having you.
Yeah, I've quite enjoyed it, man. I'm glad you'll have me on. I've actually been looking forward to it. You talked to me, what, 5, 6
that's
weeks
been
ago about
yeah.
your idea to do this. And I texted him last night. I was like, hey, it's like, we're going to do EA. Might want to hurry up with that.
Yeah. And I'm glad to hear that you're getting along with it so much because there's so many people that do come in and just drop off. You don't ever hear
I
from
mean,
them.
I like being
Yeah,
involved with
that's
things
years
'cause
gone.
since I gave up firefighting and got out of volunteering and everything else, almost 5 years ago, 6 years. I don't know. Anyway, point being, since I got out of, I wanted something to get involved in, and I don't see where I can absolutely go wrong with this.
Yeah.
And masonry will keep you as involved as you want to be
Right.
involved.
I know around here every day of the week, other than Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and some Saturdays we do our Master Mason degrees on Saturdays. We'll get up, do a big breakfast at 8 o'clock, and as soon as we're done with that, we'll start working.
Gotcha.
But Wednesdays and Sundays are reserved holy days,
Right.
the Sabbath and everything. But shoot, there's always something going on.
Oh, yeah.
And once you
You
become a
take
Master
that Wednesday
Mason,
out of there Sundays because we have Wednesday obligations. Too,
yeah,
on third.
I know.
Wednesdays.
Yeah, Scottish Rite is a Wednesday, and
Revival.
yeah,
If you
Revival,
want to go there, that's a Wednesday night.
which we'll tell you about that
Right.
too here in a little bit. But that's another episode that we're gonna have to get on too. And then I know tomorrow is actually Dennis Berry's School of Instruction in Asheville. So there's plenty you can do. There's plenty of parts you can learn once you get your Master Mason, and I think you'll enjoy it if you're because I feel like you're a lot like me. You like all that historical crap,
yeah.
and you'll once you get into the third degree and you see all the parts you can play, it's awesome. And there's a lot of
So
stuff
much
you
to
can get
learn.
into.
So much to
Yeah.
learn.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. I've
And
noticed that just in that first degree, man.
I mean, it's literally like a never ending, you could go on and on and on
On
and
and
keep
on and
getting
on.
these new degrees and stuff like that. So, um, it's definitely a good organization
Right.
to be in. And I'm not just, I might be biased, but I think we all are.
I'm definitely biased.
But,
I just
well,
want to say this real quick for whoever the listener was. It said we're at 40 minutes. You got a guest today, so it'd be rude to cut it off.
exactly. I don't mind at all. Now, I do have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to
Oh, I
work.
feel you.
But yeah, we'll end it there. And we do appreciate y'all listening. We do want to thank Hunter for coming in,
Thank
and
you, Hunter.
Hey, I'm
congratulations on being almost done on that examination.
Appreciate it.
If you'll let us know if we do another podcast before then, we'll try to invite the listeners out, see if we can get. We've got listeners in Austria.
Hey, we
See if we
just
can get them
recently
to
went to
come
South
out.
Africa on ours. I tell you.
Nice. Which I didn't mention that. I know y'all threw it out a lot, and we didn't really get a chance to talk about it today. But Hunter is actually one of the members of the, I guess you'd call it the cast, the hosts of the Dad Pod podcast. It's him and is Nick your cousin?
Yes, my cousin.
Nick Adams. I don't know much about it. If you want to give a quick spill about it, I know you're on
I'll
Spotify.
do it real quick. We're on Spotify. We're working on getting on YouTube, whatever else. We're slowly getting into it. Just we talk about anything from God, football, whatever, family issues. It's a podcast about everything and nothing at the same time. If that makes any sense.
Heck yeah.
It's just me and him sitting down sharing stories, talking about our journeys through life. Like he's recently been saved, everything else. Just anything that comes to mind. We try to be entertaining, let us have fun. We have guests on. Zach, you've been a guest. We're looking forward to having you back very soon. Um, I mean, realistically, we'll take anybody. I mean, man, if you ever want to take a chance, come over there and sit down and get grilled by us.
Oh,
Have fun with him.
absolutely.
But
And when you talked something about like another podcast, something like that, those type,
Just
same type
rambling.
issues.
Yeah. But yeah, if you look for us on Spotify, look for the Praying Hands. Black and Gray Praying Hands. That'd be the Dad Pod.
The Dad Pod. I like
Mhm.
that. That sounds good.
Yeah,
Hosted by
that.
Nick, co-hosted by me, man.
yeah. And they do a good job. They actually, I think their audio sounds a heck of a lot better than ours.
We're gonna get
does
there. We're getting
for
there.
now.
That's just because
Y'all hang
Nick
with us, hang with us.
dove head first into the audio quickly.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I'm proud of y'all. Y'all doing a good job.
I appreciate that. I mean, I've enjoyed being here today. This last couple of weeks of training somebody at work, I haven't been able to get caught up on everything. So y'all's next, I think, 2 or 3 episodes are coming up. So just bear some time, and I'll let you know how I feel about it.
So you got another degree coming up, and we'll definitely get you in. We're gonna want to get you back in.
Absolutely, I'm
See
looking
what
forward to
your
being
thoughts
back
are
and
on the
speaking on the next
degree.
the second, third degree. I'm looking forward to coming back and speaking on it. And for anybody that doesn't mind, I'll keep it under 40 minutes next.
Well, that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and close this down. We do appreciate y'all listening. We appreciate Hunter being here. And other than that,
We are the imperfect Ashlars.
we sure are. And God bless y'all.